I'm Billy Lyell, former IBF middleweight world title challenger and the owner of the Sweet Science Boxing and Fitness Gym. Alright guys, thank you for tuning back into this YouTube channel. Today I'm very excited to talk about one of my favorite topics in boxing. One of the things in boxing I feel like everybody should do. I feel like it's not done enough, and I feel like it's super duper effective, and that is feints, foot feints. I was lucky enough as a young boxer to meet a guy named Rusty Rosenberger, and I would go over his house. He was my neighbor and we'd train. He was a former middleweight fighter, and he would just beat it into my head, feint, 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 foot feint. And you know, when I use it in fights, it's one of the most effective methods in fights, and something at my gym we learn, you know, in week 1 how to throw a feint. So a feint is basically a fancy name for faking a punch, or faking at your opponent. Many reasons why you do this. In boxing, it's not like other sports. It's not like or MMA or kickboxing or different sports where you could use your elbows, your knees, your legs. In boxing, we only have our hands to use. So if I put my hands over my face, I can cover most of my body like that. So you have to be smart. You have to figure out ways to find openings in the sport of boxing. I can't kick you, I can't elbow you, I can't headbutt you. I can only use my hands, and I have gloves on. So gloves are gonna cover most of my body. So a feint is a great way to open up your opponent for punches. To get started with feints, if I was in a fight, you could go back, watch some of my fights with Chavez Jr. or, you know, John Duddy, even with Sylvester for the IBF title. All my fights, I would go out there, and one of the first things I would do is throw a feint. And I want to fake my opponent, and I want to see what he does. I want to see how he reacts. Everyone's going to have a reaction. It's natural to have a reaction. So if I fake you, you're going to do something. It doesn't mean that you're not tough or you're scared. It's human nature. You're going to have a subtle reaction. Now, obviously, the better fighters and the more experience you have, the less and less reaction is going to be. But I believe there's always going to be something you could read. So I'm going to call Joseph Rojas to come back in and help demonstrate some of these feints. So if Joseph's standing over here and we're boxing, if I throw a feint at one of my opponents, they're going to do something, right? I don't know what they're going to do. They might try to paw with that hand down, open themselves up for a right hand. Right? He's open. Or some people, it's their nature to kind of turn. So I throw a feint, he turns, and he's open for the body shot. Or some people, what they do is they like to kind of use their arms to push it away. So I feint, and he'll come out with his arms. Now he's open to get it here. Or some people, when you feint at them, they'll just kind of go into a shell. So go ahead and go into a shell. Now he's open for me to throw punches from any different angle. There's always going to be a little feint. It's going to be subtle, but there'll be something you can come off of. Now, how to throw the feint. So, the analogy I always give anybody that walks into my gym when I'm teaching the feints, I always tell the same story. I ask them, I said, hey, have you ever seen a drunk person before? I said, of course, yeah. Have you ever seen a drunk person really just drunk, just hammered dancing? You know, they're wasted and they're dancing, and they don't know how to dance at all. They can't dance a lick, but it actually don't look bad because they're so drunk, they're so wasted, they're actually feeling what they're doing. And if you feel what you're doing, it's going to end up looking okay. So same thing with the feint. If anything, you want to overcompensate for the feint. Make it too big. I'd rather it be too big than too small, but you have to own it. If you do a meager feint, then you're not going to get much of a reaction, and you're not going to have very much success for it. So when I teach the feint, everyone's going to be a little bit different feint. I'm not going to put everybody in a box with how they throw a feint, but when you throw the feint, there's a couple keys you want to stick with. Number 1, when you throw that feint, I don't want to let my hands come out too far. I wouldn't want to do this. Number 1, all I'm doing is opening myself up in case you punch. Number 2, even if you're open, I have to bring my hands back to my chin before I punch you. So feint into the gloves. Right? I don't want to open myself up when I feint. I want to feint into the gloves. So I'm feinting into gloves, into my protection. Now, as we go on into feints, they get more intricate, they get more skillful. My feint, I always like to do a little lower body with the feint. But again, if you watch from the side, what I talk about in all my videos is never letting that head get over the front knee. So I wouldn't want to feint and just go for broke and forget all the rules and go. Then I'm opening at hit number 1. And even if you go for my feint, I can't do anything about it. I have to come all the way back to position before I hit you. So I throw a subtle feint. You can let the arm come up a little bit. You can let the shoulder come out, the hip. You just don't want to, you want it to be major enough so they make a movement so you own it, but not so big enough so you're out of position. Now the next part of this video, I'm going to get into some more, I guess, advanced techniques with feints. And this is going to be geared more towards my amateur boxers, my professionals, people that are, fighting, competitively. So let me get my hand pads on for this one, and I'll have Joseph Rojas help me demonstrate. Now, I'm here with Joseph, and we're boxing. And every time he feints, he sees me susceptible to the straight right hand. So he's feinting, and I'm just doing little things like maybe my hand's dropping a little bit, like that. So he's going to feint, and when he feints, he's going to put the weight into his right hip a little bit. So when he feints, he's going to go feint in a manner that the weight's in his right hip, so he's already to explode with the right hand. If I see an opening for the right hand when I feint, I want to make sure I can get to that opening quick. I don't want to feint, be over here, have to come all the way back and then throw the right hand. So my feint's subtle. But see, I feint it into my right hip so I could shoot the right hand right over top. So Joseph, give me a feint where I drop my jab. So this is the drill we do a lot at the gym. One of my fighters will stand there, they'll throw the feint, I'm in position. As they feint, that brings my hand down, and they turn the right hand right over. Joseph will demonstrate a couple more. Notice how quick he's able to get the right hand in after the feint. If it takes too long, it won't work. Now go ahead and feint the wrong way on this one. Right, so the feint took him so long, my hand's down, but it took him way too long to get his punch in. So, again, we're not just throwing random feints. As he feints, he sees my left hand's coming down, which makes me susceptible to the right hand coming over top. So when he feints, he's doing it in a smart manner where he feints into his right hip, which puts him in position to throw a right hand. Now, the flip side of that coin is he could feint if we're boxing in a boxing match and I'm not boxing like this, and he sees this hand dropping sometimes, right? He sees my right hand dropping. So if we're boxing together and my right hand drops, what am I susceptible for? A left hook, correct? So he's gonna feint this time to put the weight into his left hip. So when he throws that feint, my right hand drops and he's able to throw the hook. Again, go ahead and rip the pad. Get into the hip a little bit more. All right. So this is a wonderful drill we do at the gym. Again, I stand in my boxing position. When one of my fighters feints, I simulate what would happen in a match. I drop my right hand, and they just simply throw that lead left hook. A couple more. Good. Just slow them down, give me big ones. Good. So you have your basic feints, which is just feinting at your opponent, which I would suggest to anybody that's going to go in the ring, anybody that's going to spar, just try it, practice it, see what happens. Go ahead and throw a feint at your opponent and see how they react. And the more you throw those feints, the more you'll see openings, And it's like putting things through a strainer. The more you do it, the better and better it'll get, and the more you'll learn. One branch will lead to the next. And with the advanced series, think about what you see. Okay, I see my opponent dropping his left hand. So he's obviously susceptible for a straight right hand. So I want to feint in a way that I get into my right hip so I could throw that right hand. Okay, I see my opponent. He's dropping his right hand down. So he's susceptible to the left hook. So I want to feint in a manner that brings my weight into my left hip so I can lead with the left hook. So that's your basic feints. That's your more advanced feints. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Until the next time, thanks a lot.